Would you pray with me? O good and gracious God, we hear the words of ancient scriptures and we want to understand. And it is only by the presence of your living Spirit, a gift of Jesus Christ, that we are able to hear what you are saying to the church today. So open our minds, our hearts, our very lives to receive this good news, that we might be good news in your world. Now may the words of my mouth and the meditation of all our hearts be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, our rock and our Redeemer. Amen. When Aruna Kunaraj was growing up, her family did not have much money. Her mother was a professional seamstress, and she made all of the family's clothes and then mended them. And Aruna's mother was very careful that when she mended the clothing, she did it so it was not clear that there had been any repair done. She did that because it was sort of shameful to have to wear homemade and hand-repaired clothing. Aruna said it was like the other kids would be, you don't even have enough money for a new pair of jeans? Now, Aruna Karunaja is one of Canada's foremost fiber artists. And she has carried on the legacy of being a seamstress. And she also mends her own clothes. But today, when Aruna mends her clothes, she does not try to hide the repair. She participates in a movement called visible mending, in which there is no effort to cover up that there has been a tear or some wear. In fact, the mending is done so visibly that it draws attention to where there was wear and tear. Visible mending uses overlay elements and decorative efforts so that the eye is drawn to what was torn and weary. It's a very ethical way to take care of clothing. It eliminates the billions of used clothing that go into landfills and compost piles, and it reduces the carbon load that comes from making new clothes all the time. Visible mending is a healthy and beautiful way to mend clothes and mend lives. In the second book of Kings, a prophet named Elisha is being torn apart. He knows that his mentor, Elijah, is leaving him, and he is desperate. We hear in the passage just read how much Elisha is trying to hold on to Elijah, and how Elijah is trying to prepare Elisha, his apprentice, for the time when their relationship will be torn apart. Finally, Elisha says to Elijah, "Give me, I pray, a double portion of your spirit." It's a really wonderful, beautiful request that he makes. He doesn't ask for property rights or an inheritance other than to carry on the work for which Elijah has been preparing him all the time. And what Elijah says to Elisha is, it will be up to God. If you see me taken away, then you will receive this double portion. And if you do not see me being taken away by God, then God will not grant you the double portion. But Elisha does. He watches as Elijah is taken away in this magnificent way with fire and chariots and horsemen. It's like a moment of the transfiguration, which will be repeated in Jesus' own life. But when it is finished, there is Elisha. His life is in tatters. He has been torn apart and is left in need of being mended because his mentor has departed from him. Each of us surely has felt torn apart in some way like that at some point in our lives. For some of you, it happened when you left home and joined the military. For others, it happens when they leave to start a new job or freshman year of college. Even getting married or having a child married off can create that tearing in our lives. Or perhaps it's a divorce or a death or the loss of a loved one or a dire diagnosis for your spouse of many years just when you are on the brink of retirement. And then for many people, it happens when they go to a doctor's appointment hoping to hear good news, and instead they get a death-dealing notification. These are all places of separation, all places of loss, all tear our lives and hearts. Kate Bowler had a husband, a 4-year-old child, and an up-and-coming position at Duke Divinity School. She was known as a foremost researcher and theologian of the prosperity gospel in the United States. And then at the age of 35, she was diagnosed with stage 4 bowel cancer. It was a time of tearing for Kate Bowler. She said it involved the loss of what she had thought of her life, which she imagined as a life of infinite choices and unlimited possibilities. From her hospital room, she wrote, "I see no master plan to bring me to a higher level, to guarantee my growth or use my cancer to teach me. Nothing will exempt me from the pain of being human." Nothing can save us from the pain of being human. Suffering is part of the human experience. To ignore or deny the pain we experience is to deny that Jesus had holes in his hands and his feet and his side, even when he was risen from the grave. It is to deny that Jesus had to come down off of that mountain of glorious transfiguration. And even as he was going, he reminded his disciples that he would be persecuted and must suffer. And as soon as he descends into the valley, there he must confront and cast out another evil spirit. None of us escapes pain. Every life has rips and tears in it. Some are small and some are very large. Fortunately, God is there with us, going about the work of visibly mending our lives. The first stitch of visible mending is acknowledging the pain. It is first admitting the suffering. Sometimes, like for Kate Bowler, it is our own pain and suffering. Always it should be to acknowledge the pain of others. It is what Jesus was inviting his disciples to experience, to notice and attend to the suffering of others. The second stitch of visible mending is the love that shares hope. Kate Bowler writes, "At a time when I should have felt abandoned by God, I was not reduced to ashes. I felt like I was floating on love. Of all those who hummed around me like worker bees, bringing notes and flowers and warm socks and quilts embroidered with words of encouragement, they came in like priests and mirrored to me the face of Jesus." Most of us realize that the strongest and most beautiful people we know let the mending in their life be visible. They show up with the tears and tears and wear and tear on their lives and let us know that they have come through with love and hope. Think of the parents of a handicapped child who support and encourage other parents. Think of the recovering alcoholic who accompanies patiently the person young in their recovery. Think of the spouse of an Alzheimer's patient who shows up and encourages and gives hints and support to others who are caregivers to those with dementia. Showing up and showing one's own mended life transmits love with hope. It is not hope that the cancer will be cured, or that your mentor will never be taken from you, or that death will never come. It is hope that our lives and the world will be transfigured, and that we will hear ourselves known and named as beloved children of God and given new life. The third stitch of visible mending is continuing the faithful work of the people who have come before us. Elisha picks up the mantle of Elijah, and he does with it the same thing that Elijah did. He strikes the water with it, and the waters part, and he crosses the river, and the prophets gather there, say, "The spirit of Elijah rests on Elisha." When we pick up the mantle of our mentor, we make their work visible, and the work of the Spirit moves forward. Kate Bowler, at the end of her book, No Cure for Being Human, thanks her heroes, family members, and friends who supported her, prayed for her, and cared for her throughout her ongoing cancer treatments. Their presence made it possible for her to carry on the work to which God had called her. She says, "The ability to work throughout this illness made my life not simply bearable, but beautiful." When we allow God to work through us, we are part of God's visible mending. Jesus invites his disciples then and now into this work. When we listen to Jesus and follow him, we receive a share in his Spirit and are empowered to carry on his ministry of healing, hope, and love. And we become part of the holy work of visibly mending the world. We acknowledge the pain. the terrors and weariness of the world. We show love that shares hope, and we take on the mantle of Jesus and carry on his work in the world so all people know they are beloved children of God. When we remain faithful and prayerful in the face of loss and disappointment, God mends for us a life that is not just bearable, it is beautiful.